I'm asking you to please move further up the road.
That's my sister in that car. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not asking anymore, I'm telling you. Tell me what law I'm breaking.
Law enforcement officers are sworn to uphold the Constitution. But what happens when they overstep their authority and come face to face with someone who knows exactly where the line is? Here are 4 documented cases where officers pushed too hard and military veterans pushed back harder. Case 1, the sister who wouldn't back down. I'm asking you to please move further up the road. That's my sister in that car. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not asking anymore. I'm telling you, tell me what law I'm breaking. This is Sheriff Boone, sister of combat veteran Melissa Shelley. On the afternoon of December 18th, 2021, Officer Carlos Mendez of the Santana County Sheriff's Department conducted a traffic stop on Melissa Shelley along a rural Florida highway. The alleged violation was an expired registration. Sheriff Boone, who had been following her sister's vehicle, pulled over nearby to make sure her sister was safe. Officer Mendez objected immediately. He insisted Sheriff had no business being at the scene and repeatedly ordered her to drive further up the road and wait. Sheriff refused, calmly asking each time what law she was breaking by standing on a public road. "You're obstructing this traffic stop. I'm standing on a public road." "I'm not in your way. I'm not asking. You need to go now. What law am I violating? Just tell me that." A second officer, Crawford, arrived to assist. When Sheriff continued to hold her ground, Crawford decided she was now subject to detention and demanded she produce identification. "Am I being detained? You are now. For what? For failing to comply with a lawful order. What order? Nobody told me what I was doing wrong. I need your ID." "If you refuse, you'll be sitting in the back of my patrol car." Sheriff asked for a supervisor. Crawford told her to get out of the vehicle first. The exchange grew increasingly tense as Crawford attempted to close her car door, a move Sheriff physically prevented. "You touch my door again, that's assault." "I have not broken a single law. You're impeding this investigation. I pulled over because my sister doesn't know my new address and I wanted to make sure she was okay. That's it." "That's all of it." Sergeant Daniels arrived to de-escalate. He spoke calmly with Sheriff, acknowledged the situation, and handed her his business card with instructions on how to file a formal complaint if she chose to. He confirmed that the body camera footage from both officers would be reviewed. No citations were issued. No arrests were made. However, Sheriff was informed she could not continue driving that day due to a licensing issue discovered during the stop. The outcome: both Officer Mendez and Officer Crawford were ordered to complete a mandatory 40-hour retraining course focused on citizen rights during traffic enforcement. Think that was something? Wait until you see what this next veteran did when officers tried the same thing. Case 2, the Marine who knew the Fifth Amendment. Roll your window down, sir. "No." "What do you need?" "I need you to identify yourself." "That's not how this works." This is Aaron Webb, a Marine veteran with 4 combat deployments. On the evening of March 4th, 2022, Aaron was sitting in the parking lot of a gas station in Grand Junction, Colorado, waiting for friends before a shooting competition the following morning. He had done nothing unusual. He was parked legally, sitting quietly in his car. Corporal Hayes and 2 accompanying officers from the Grand Junction Police Department approached his vehicle and asked him to roll down his window. When Aaron cracked it slightly, they immediately demanded identification. "I need you to identify yourself." "No, why?" "There was a shooting near here last night." "Your vehicle matches the description of the suspect's car. Do you have a license plate number for the suspect's vehicle?" "Not an exact one." "A physical description of the suspect?" "We're still developing that, so you have nothing. You have no articulable suspicion that I have done anything." Aaron, well-versed in constitutional law, cited the Fifth Amendment. For those unfamiliar, the Fifth Amendment protects citizens from being compelled to incriminate themselves, which legal precedent has extended to cover situations where identifying oneself could lead to unreasonable suspicion without probable cause. An officer must have a reasonable, specific basis to demand identification, not merely a general description and a nearby location. Corporal Hayes escalated. "If you don't identify yourself, I will remove you from this vehicle and detain you for obstruction. I am a free American. I am a Marine veteran. I have done 4 deployments overseas, defending the rights you're currently trying to take from me. You are not going to intimidate me into surrendering them. A senior officer stepped in, attempting a softer approach. Look, I get it. We just need to clear you and get you on your way. You already know my name. You ran my plates the second you walked up. So why are you asking me to identify myself? Colorado state law requires, quote it to me. Explain specifically why I, as an individual, am legally required to identify under these specific circumstances. The officer could not cite the statute clearly. Aaron pressed further, asking for the officer's name and badge number. The officer initially hesitated before providing it. You know why I'm not cooperating. Because the moment compliance becomes automatic, the moment people stop asking why, that's when rights disappear. That's when they stop being rights and start being privileges that get handed back when officers feel generous. The officers eventually left the scene without issuing any citation or making an arrest. Aaron stated publicly afterward that he intended to consult legal counsel about the interaction, though the outcome of any subsequent action has not been confirmed. Think 2 cases is enough. We're just getting started. Case 3, the veteran who caught a town official admitting to federal crimes on camera. Have you dumped construction waste on Ridgeline Mountain? I don't have to answer your questions. You just did. On camera, this is David Calloway, a veteran and environmental activist. In November 2015, David returned to his hometown after years away to find a work crew near the watershed above his property. David had spent years alleging that the town's public works department had been illegally dumping recycled asphalt and construction byproducts into a drainage area connected to his water supply. The crew on this particular day belonged to the town's infrastructure division, and accompanying them was the public works director, Gerald Patton. David had a camera, and he had questions. Have you spread asphalt waste on Ridgeline Mountain? Yes or no? It is not waste, it's a recycled aggregate, it's a permitted material. Is it new asphalt? No. Is it ground-up asphalt? Yes. That's waste. Did you sit in a courtroom while the town attorney stated it had never been deposited upstream from a residential water source? That matter has already been addressed. You just addressed it again. On camera, you confirmed the material was placed there. That contradicts sworn testimony. David argued that the material, once it enters a waterway, constitutes illegal pollution regardless of its recycled classification. He cited both state environmental regulations and federal EPA guidelines. Patton maintained the activity was within legal parameters. Officers on scene who had accompanied the work crew ordered David to move his vehicle so the crew could access the work area. David refused. You work for the public. I am the public. And I am watching what is happening here. Move your vehicle or we will have it removed. You have just watched this man confirm on camera that material was deposited upstream from my water supply. Contrary to what was stated in court. I have a responsibility under the law not to simply stand aside. Are you refusing to move your vehicle? When I'm ready. David eventually left the scene after continued pressure from officers. 2 years later, in November 2017, during a similar confrontation at a related location, David was arrested on a charge of contempt of court. He was transported to a medical facility immediately following the arrest due to a health concern. He was additionally charged with resisting arrest. The underlying environmental dispute, and whether the town's actions constituted violations of state or federal environmental law, remained a matter of ongoing contention. And now the case that raised serious questions about how far federal enforcement can go. Case 4, the Army reservist, a warrant, and a flash grenade. She has a warrant. She has to come in. She is nursing an infant. She is medically unwell. What you want is irrelevant right now. This is Shantia Morrison, an Army reservist. In February 2022, Shantia received official notification of a transfer from her HR position in Texas to a facility in Virginia. Shantia, who had been experiencing significant mental health difficulties and was on approved medical leave, did not comply with the transfer. Military regulations classify failure to report as desertion under certain conditions. A warrant was issued. On November 30th, 2022, officers from the Granton Police Department and federal marshals arrived at Shantaya's residence to execute the arrest warrant. What followed was deeply controversial. According to witness accounts and footage from the scene, officers breached the front door using a forced entry device. A smoke canister was deployed inside the residence. Shantaya, who had been nursing her infant at the time of entry, was placed under arrest while officers managed a chaotic scene that included family members and a distressed teenage sibling. That is a 16-year-old girl and you are pointing weapons at her. Sir, step back. I am trying to bring her out safely. She is screaming. What you want is not relevant to this operation. She is a child. Family members attempted to intervene calmly. Officers repeatedly ordered them back. Shantaya, in the midst of the arrest, asked to retrieve her military identification, her phone, and her shoes. Officers eventually allowed her to collect basic items before transport. I've never even been to Virginia. I've never set foot there. Ma'am, we're just serving the warrant. We're local. We're not involved in the underlying case. I had a mental breakdown. I've been on approved medical leave. I literally just came off leave yesterday and was preparing to return to duty. A local officer on scene acknowledged he had spoken with her unit commander earlier that day. The situation had clearly escalated beyond what the facts initially seemed to require. Shantaya was transported and held at a military facility. The details of her military proceedings were kept confidential under standard protocol. The circumstances of the arrest, including the use of forced entry and smoke deployment against a medically vulnerable, breastfeeding mother with no history of violence, drew significant criticism from veterans advocacy groups. These 4 cases share a common thread. Veterans who served this country, who understood the rights they fought to protect, who refused to be intimidated into surrendering those rights without cause. Each situation was different. Some involved clear overreach, some were more complicated. But in every case, the veterans at the center of these encounters stood their ground, asked the right questions, and made sure everything was on record. If you believe law enforcement must be held accountable to the same Constitution they swear to protect, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. We cover cases like these every week because the truth deserves to be heard.